It's been a while since I made an update. And now you're seeing the mysterious voice behind the camera.
Hello,
This is Melinda, my partner.
it is I.
So I wanted to give a quick update. First of all, so last time I think I talked about my MSE, talked about the asymmetry kind of correcting itself. I guess on that note, it's fully back to normal. So that was the side that was starting to flare up, but that has fully relapsed and I have a good bite now. And my crossbite has stayed corrected. So that whole first phase of the TPD where he angled it and tried to correct the crossbite, that worked out. And the bite's now stable. So now we're focused on getting the nasal cavity expansion. And to that effect, as of 2 weeks ago, I went back to the TPD because the MSE for me failed. I tried that on for maybe like a month?
Yeah, a little over a month.
Maybe a little over a month. And a couple things, like every time I would go to turn the MSE, I would get a lot of pain. As soon as I engaged the wrench in the middle of the MSE, it would be a lot of pain right where the MSE was installed, like where the screws and the tads were. So I think what was happening is there was some cheese wiring or bending of the tads that was like impinging on some soft tissue, causing pain, and was not actually moving the palatal bones at all. So got rid of the MSE, and then he reinstalled the TPD.
You want me to hold this?
Sure.
Look at that. Oh yeah.
And you can tell he used a smaller size TPD this time because it's placed a little bit more anteriorly in the palate. And actually it's kind of placed exactly where the MSE was. So I think he's trying to leverage any kind of sutural movement that might have happened. But also it's placed much higher in the palate. So the forces now really feel like they're kind of transferring up, higher up into the skull, into the nasal cavity, which is great. You can see I have a mini diastema again.
I'm so happy about that.
And, she loves the diastema.
Ladies love it.
Ladies love diastemas. And then, so I still have a long ways to go with the new TPD and this kind of positioning. Got several more months, but I can say that I feel that the expansion this time around is happening in the correct areas, and nasal breathing is starting to feel more free and less like resistant.
How much of an improvement would you say you've had now?
Probably because we just started with this, I'd say like maybe 10-15% or so, but it's going to be a long road.
So more than the initial expansion, because you said with the initial TPD it was like 10% right off the bat, but then it kind of...
And these are very subjective and arbitrary percentages. It's not
these
like
actually don't mean anything
they mean nothing really, but how I feel is that this is opening up the passages. Like when I turn it, the pressure sensation feels like it's going, in the right areas.
So, I mean, your hypothesis that the first TPD basically just went into straight up just the alveolar bone and not into the upper, the nasal cavity.
Yeah, so I asked Dr. Lee about that. He said, actually, I quote, sort of an excellent teaching case on to fix the bite first and then focus on nasal cavity expansion. Because I asked him, so like if he had originally placed the first TPD high up in the vault like this one, would it have fixed the crossbite over time? And he essentially said, no, it wouldn't have, because a lot of the expansion forces from the TPD go up into the skull. So can you hold this? Like he said, essentially, if this is like the skull, right? And the bottom part is the palate, the teeth. It expands like this and not like this. So there's a chance that in that original positioning, or if he had placed it really high up originally, I would expand like this, but I still might have had a crossbite. So long story short, to answer that question, I do think the forces went into that alveolar segment like they're supposed to, and they kind of corrected the crossbite there, but didn't do much for my nasal cavity. And this time it feels like the forces are all going up here, which is what we want now.
How are you feeling about the process at this stage after now being a connoisseur of
A nasomaxillary connoisseur.
nasomaxillary expansion?
I'm feeling good and hopeful. I'm feeling that this round things are moving and working as they're supposed to. And then I just had to start lining up orthodontists in a couple months.
Yeah. You know, the MSE was a little bit of a detour. But how do you feel about that? Yeah.
Because my suture is already split at that point, and it still didn't move the bones. I also have very thin upper maxillary bone, so the bone on the roof of my mouth. So that could be another reason why the TADs didn't engage the bone enough. Even, I mean, like 2, maybe 3 of the TADs did, but the rear one didn't have much bone to move. And a lot of people, it seems like the majority of people, as you go further back in the roof of the mouth, the bone gets thinner and thinner. So another thing I learned is that even if you do have like a 8-12 screw MSE, like that, a long one that goes all the way back, those rear TADs aren't really engaging enough bone to make a difference. So like maybe the front 2 or 4 have enough thickness of the bone to engage, but the rear ones aren't. They may as well not be there because they don't have enough thickness of bone to actually like anchor and cause it to move.
Yeah.
So I think that's the problem with like the longer MSE ideas.
Yeah. I'm curious to see how this one goes, and I feel good about it from being the third one you've had. It seems
she's a second-hand nasomaxillary connoisseur.
I know. I don't know. I know, like, here's the thing. I know maybe 20% of what you know, but I feel like I know 95% more than the average person.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
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 I would say 10% what I know.
Wow. How do you want me to display them?
So what we're talking about displaying, of course. Well, go ahead and hold that. So do you see this segment right there? That's the zygoma. And hers are massive. Give them a forward angle.
Forward angle.
See, look at that. Look at the width on these.
Set a drink on that. What is this called? Like this?
That's the zygoma.
Well, is it like the zygomatic
arch.
Zygomatic arch, yeah.
So she had a palatal expander when she was a kid, and I had tooth extracted when I was a kid. So we had opposite treatments.
This is real life examples.
Forward grown face. And this is a recessed downswung face. And she has to walk sideways through doors.
He's doing all of this to get to where this is.
That's why we're even dating.
Yeah, I'm just his living, walking inspiration.
To grow my face.
To grow his face. He met me and was instantly inspired. He said, "Oh my God, your face, it must be mine." And...
Must be mine. Sounds a little macabre.
I'm proud to be your muse.
She's my muse for Grow Your Face. Along with
Smacks,
the skull.
Smacks.
He does smack, though.
He does. It's really creepy. He's like, ah.
Okay. All right, guys. On that note, we're heading out. Bye.
Bye.